Let's talk about a battle from World War I that really should have been a slam dunk, the Battle of Dogger Bank in 1915. It's an absolutely fascinating story of a high-speed chase across the North Sea, a huge intelligence advantage, and how a simple, single mistake turned what should have been a crushing victory into a really, really bitter lesson. I mean, just think about this for a second. What if you had the ultimate upper hand? You knew exactly where your enemy was going to be, and you showed up with a bigger, stronger force to meet them. That's the exact spot the British were in. It sets the stage for what should have been a quick, easy win, but, well, it wasn't. You see, the story of this battle doesn't actually start on the high seas. No. It starts in a quiet little office where the British had a weapon that was way more powerful than any battleship. They had intelligence. And that weapon? It had a name. Room 40. This was the super-secret heart of the British code-breaking operation. They had, for all intents and purposes, figured out how to read the German Navy's mail. It gave them an unbelievable, almost unfair advantage. So how'd they get so lucky? Well, it was this incredible mix of good fortune and some really quick thinking. Right at the start of the war, the British managed to get their hands on not one, not two, but 3 key German naval code books from ships that were either wrecked or captured. This was like being handed the keys to the entire German fleet. So, armed with this game-changing intel, the British could suddenly switch from defense to offense. They didn't have to endlessly patrol the cold North Sea anymore. Nope. They could just wait for the Germans to make a move and then spring the perfect trap. And on January 23rd, 1915, they got their chance. Room 40 picks up the chatter. Admiral Hipper is planning a little raid on some British fishing boats near a place called the Dogger Bank, a pretty small-scale operation. But the British response? Oh, it was anything but small-scale. They decided to use this information to send a much bigger force to meet Hipper and completely, utterly annihilate his squadron. And just look at the mismatch here. It was staggering. The British Admiral Beatty shows up with 5 modern battle cruisers against Germany's 3, plus an older, slower ship called the Blucher. And in every other class of ship, light cruisers, destroyers, the British had them outnumbered. The trap was perfectly set. So dawn, January 24th, the trap is sprung. The Germans are totally caught by surprise. Realizing they are massively outgunned, their only option is to turn tail and run for home. And that kicks off this incredible high-speed chase across the North Sea. And this is where technology was just everything. The British battlecruisers were faster, so they were gaining on the Germans. And then they opened fire at 20,000 yards. That is over 11 miles away. This was naval combat on a scale and at a speed that nobody had ever really seen before. And the British shooting was absolutely devastating. A massive shell from the flagship HMS Lion slams into the German flagship Seydlitz. It causes this horrifying fire that just flashes through 2 of the main gun turrets, killing 165 men in an instant. The only thing that saved the ship from blowing up entirely was the incredible bravery of an officer who managed to flood the ammunition magazines just in time. But here's the thing. The Germans were fighting back, and they were fighting back hard. Their gunnery was excellent, and they focused all their fire on the British flagship. HMS Lion gets hammered by 14 heavy shells. Her engines are damaged, she starts losing speed, and eventually she's forced to fall out of the main battle line. And this is where it all goes wrong. The British have the Germans on the ropes. The enemy flagship is burning. Their slowest ship is falling behind. A total victory seems absolutely certain. And then, one simple communication error changes the entire course of the battle. Okay, let's walk through this, because it's almost unbelievable. Beatty, on his damaged flagship, thinks he sees a submarine periscope. It's a phantom, but he doesn't know that. So he signals for a shark turn to avoid it. Then, he tries to send a second signal, telling his fleet to keep attacking the main German ships. But his ship has lost power, so they have to use signal flags, and the signalman hoists both signals at the same time. His second-in-command, on another ship, sees the flags for turn and engage the rear and reads them as one single command: attack the ship at the very rear of the German line, which was the already crippled, already doomed Blucher. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Total annihilation was right there for the taking. The British were seconds away from one of the greatest naval victories of the war. And then, just like that, it all fell apart because of a mixed-up signal. And the consequence was immediate and disastrous. Following that one misunderstood order, the entire British battle line, all those powerful ships, they just broke off the chase. They turned away from the main German force and all ganged up on the single crippled Blücher. The real prize just slipped away. So the guns fall silent. What happens next? Well, on paper, the British definitely won. But it was a victory that felt an awful lot like a defeat. And when you look at the results, you start to see why this was such a bitter lesson for the Royal Navy. The overkill was just mind-boggling. The poor Blücher was pounded by an estimated 70 heavy shells, plus torpedoes, before she finally gave up and capsized. It was a massive show of force, all pointed at completely the wrong target, while the real enemy warships got away. Now, if you were just a numbers person, you'd look at this and say, wow, what a huge win. The Germans lost over 1,000 men, while the British lost fewer than 50. I mean, on paper, that looks like a total landslide. But then you look at the gunnery scorecard, and that tells a very different story. Even while they were on the run, the German gunners actually outshot the British. They landed 16 heavy shells on the British flagship, Lion. The British only managed to land 3 on the German flagship. The Germans proved that their gunnery was absolutely deadly. And right here, this is the most important takeaway. The British may have won the battle, but you could argue the Germans won the lesson. Germany found that fatal flaw in their ammunition handling, and they fixed it. A fix that would literally save their fleet at the huge Battle of Jutland a year later. The British, on the other hand, didn't really fix the sloppy signaling that cost them the big win here. A huge opportunity was lost. Which leaves us with this final thought. Sure, a victory was won at Dogger Bank, but the failure to learn from the critical mistakes made that day, that would come back to haunt the Royal Navy in much bigger, much bloodier battles that were still to come. It truly was a victory lost in translation.